Well, hello everyone, my name's David.
And I'm Jo.
We have recently moved to central Portugal and we have used a removals company to move some of our belongings, in particular some of the larger items. And we thought it might be worth to do an honest customer-client review of the service in case some of you might be thinking about moving over and need a removals company. The company that we used is called Algarve Removals, which is quite commonly shared and sort of renowned on social media, and people recommend them, but you never know what it's like until you've actually used them yourself. So in our case, if you have followed us over the last few years, or at least few weeks since we moved over, then you know that we now have received our items. So we've had a chance to actually see the entire process, from the first bit of communication with them to having our belongings taken away, to them then arriving over here, whether they arrived in a timely manner, whether they arrived damaged, whether there was anything missing, and so on. So we've got a full experience basically. So we just thought this might be something useful for some of you out there. So I suppose, just straight to the point, before we delve into the nitty-gritty details, would we recommend Algarve Removals to some of the viewers that might be thinking about using them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We were both very happy with the service provided. The communication was pretty clear. And everything from start to finish was pretty much as we were expecting.
Spot on.
Everything arrived on time.
Yeah.
Basically when we were expecting it to.
Yeah.
Nothing arrived damaged.
Nope.
Everything that we packed was basically in the same condition as when they picked it up.
Yeah.
So in terms of damage, there wasn't any. It was all delivered exactly as we wanted it to, which is good.
Yeah, there's the salespeople, the customer service from the second I requested a quote to changing the size of our delivery needs. They were always really helpful and really clear how much it was going to cost and things like that. Really, really easy to use. Got an online quote several times, to be fair, because our moving date changed a few times, and our needs changed. So the quotes were easy to get to start with. The follow-up was easy afterwards once I decided to go with the company. The delivery people were really nice and pleasant and cheerful on both sides, the UK and here in Portugal. The only thing to be aware of is you might put a specific date for collection and delivery, but they use that as a general guide and they tend to come that week. They give you, I think it was 48 hours notice. So they rang me on Friday and said, "Oh, we'll be coming to collect on Tuesday," which was a bit problematic. It meant I had to change some days at work, but as long as you understand that that's the way the process is likely to be. And then at this side, they rang me and said, "Oh, we'll be delivering tomorrow." Not a problem. Don't expect them to come spot on your delivery date. And if you do need that pickup and delivery date, state that very clearly.
I think what they also said later when they rang and they said, "We're going to be coming on Tuesday," and you said, "Oh, that's actually not brilliant for us." They did say, "Oh, did you specify that date won't work for you?" So if you want it to be delivered or collected within a specific week or within a number of specific days, but there's a date that really won't work for you, just make sure that you let them know in advance.
Yeah, the week wasn't the problem. It was delivered in the week that I specified. It just wasn't the specific date, which wasn't a big deal.
No, we just rearranged some things.
That was
and
the
it was
only
fine.
thing that caused me a little drama, but that in the grand scheme of things, moving country, it was nothing.
Yeah. But like I said, if there is a specific day that really won't work for you,
just
for example,
you
will be away, just tell them, when you tell them the date, but say within that week or within those few days. However, that one day, definitely not.
Yeah, and they will schedule around.
Yeah, they'll work around that.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
In terms of collection, we had everything wrapped and packed in boxes ready for them to literally come in the house, pick it up, take it out into the van, and that's it. However, I think they are prepared a little bit in case somebody isn't quite as prepared as we were, I suppose.
I mean, in our case, we were very prepared. Everything was wrapped. They came in. I think it took 20 minutes for them to empty the house because it was all stacked in one room, empty the house, into the van, job done. But they do come with fabrics to wrap your tables and wrap if they need to wrap some of the boxes and things like that.
Was it your desk worktop?
Yeah, it was literally a slice of worktop from the kitchen that we did. And I was like, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. And they were like, no, we're going to wrap this properly. And they wrapped it in like felt and sellotaped it all up. So.
And I'm pretty sure it arrived in the same felt over here.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
And they just took it off over here.
Yeah.
So they didn't charge us anything extra for it.
Yeah.
But they were prepared for that. They also had some cling film in case there's some things needed to be wrapped a little bit more. But that's what I would recommend you do anyway.
Yeah. Like be responsible for your own items. Don't put the responsibility on them. Like they're literally a delivery company from A to B. So if you're relying on them, making sure your items are secure and then your items turn up not in the same condition you left them, well, really that's on you, I would say.
Yeah, if you haven't prepared them for the journey, basically. Yeah. So most of our things were packed in cardboard boxes. Jo used to work in a garden centre, so she managed to get some empty cardboard boxes from stock that they had. We also went and got some boxes from Argos, if you're in the UK, but Staples and other shops will sell that as well. And then once they were packed, we sellotape basically where the edges are, sellotape them closed, and then shrink wrap them so that they stay in one piece because sellotape and tape, sticky tapes do come off. But also it means that it prevents any potential water damage should at any point, because obviously they've got to carry it from a van into a warehouse and then it's going to be moved around.
It's raining,
potentially it's going to be rained on. Our stuff didn't look like it had any water on it at any point, but take precautions, like we said, take responsibility for your own things, and that way you're just minimizing the potential of something going wrong.
Yeah, like we had a 2-week window from when they collected in the UK to when they delivered in Portugal, and we did that deliberately because we still had the house to pack up and clean and put things in the car, and then we were travelling down. If you watch that video, we travelled down with 2 pets.
We drove down.
We drove down with 2 pets, and of course that took a couple of days because the cat's car sick, and so we had to stop more than maybe we would have done if it was just 2 of us.
Yeah.
So I wanted the house cleared and empty as really, at the earliest opportunity that we could, and we could still live comfortably for a week.
So did you specify to them the 2-week window that basically collect around this date and then deliver around this date?
Yes, absolutely, and that was exactly the weeks they collected and delivered.
So they don't dictate that to you?
No.
They're quite accommodating in terms of, right, when would you like us to collect and when would you like us to deliver?
It was only to the specific day, but they collected and delivered in the week that I'd requested. And I did know that it would be like a few days either side.
Because in our case, as it probably will be in the case of a lot of people out there, is we sold a house in the UK, so they had to come and collect the things from that house whilst we were still there, but then we needed the time to actually finalise a couple of things in the UK and actually get ourselves down here and be in a position to actually receive the items.
Yes,
Obviously, in our case, again, if you've seen the previous video, then we've already had the village house ready, as well as the off-grid farm with the barns, should we need that space as well. But it was good that we were able to specify, right, collect around this time and deliver around this time. In terms of collection, we had our own sort of stock list, if you like.
Yes.
So we knew how many boxes of how many items, how many units of carriage basically we left with them. We knew what was inside everything. And we knew also, we put numbers on each of the items, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so that on our spreadsheet we can see basically what's in each box or each container. They also have their own reference number.
They did. They numbered each item as well. I guess just for their reference, it's just for a count, I think, so they know how many items they've collected from you. But our reference was specific to what was in the box. So when it arrived here, and David said, "Oh, where's my camera equipment?" And I could look at my list and go, "Well, your camera equipment's in box da da da," and we could just go into the spare room and find it.
But also, there was a reference number that they asked us to put on the boxes, basically to reference specific to us as a client.
Yeah.
And that you basically printed off on, I think you got on each A4 sheet of paper, you had it twice, one at the top, one at the bottom, then you cut it in half.
So it was basically an A5 piece of paper with the number printed big, so it couldn't be missed. Because this, you know, the way that, and I don't know for sure because we haven't visited, but I think what they do is they collect it in the UK, they probably take it to a large storage container, put it in that, ship it over to Portugal, where again they take it to another warehouse where then it gets put onto a separate van to come to you. So, you know, again, take responsibility for labelling your items really well, because this is where things are going to get lost. At the end of the day, they've probably got millions of boxes. So on two sides, we put our sticky shipment label, I think it was, with the A4 piece of paper in white and big numbers in, so it, you know, it couldn't really be missed.
Yeah, so not just ones, just put it on two sides so that if the boxes are stacked, so that one's covered by another box, it's still visible from another side.
And it makes your boxes really easily identifiable then.
Yeah, you basically want to make it as easy for everything to go as smoothly as possible as you can.
Yeah.
Because that way you can minimise the possibility of something going wrong.
Yeah.
And like I said, in our case, clearly things went well because everything went exactly as we wanted. Yeah. So that's why we just wanted to share all that information with you.
Yeah.
In terms of insurance. Yeah, so obviously if you're using a removals company, if you're packing up a house, depending on how many things you have, there's a good chance that some of the things that they will be taking for you will be of greater value. It might be a few £100, it might be a few £1,000, it might be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of insurance, if you don't let them know what's inside each of those boxes, the items that they're actually moving for you, you're limited to, I think it was £50 or €50 per item. A box, so not per item, but per box. Okay.
So if you don't notify them before they collect what your items are, then they'll only insure it £50 per box.
Yeah.
Which in our case wasn't a big deal. Nothing got lost. Nothing that valuable was sent.
No, but if you want to be on a cautious side, and we sort of only really read up on it and found out after they collected our things, because we thought that we can just send it to them at that point.
Yeah.
But basically, if you want your items to be insured to a higher value, then you need to let them know an itemized. You need to have let them have an itemized list of the things that they're taking for you in advance of collection.
Yeah.
So let's say you're scheduling them to collect your items on, I don't know, 5th of May. You probably want to let them know the itemized list a week before that at least, because like we said, they're not going to come on a specific date. They're going to come around the date that you ask them to. So if you can get the list to them, I would say probably at least a week before you expect them to come and collect your belongings, then that way you can ensure that they have the list in sufficient amount of time for that insurance to take place. So that if you're sending a painting, you know, worth €10,000 or something, and you want that insured to the market value.
I'm not sure they insure to that much, but yeah.
Well, that would be something you would have to check with them. However, if you needed to be insured to a greater value, you need to let them know what it is and how much
what the value is.
You perceive the value to be. But that needs to be with them before they collect your belongings. Is there anything else to mention?
I don't think so. I mean, the guys that collected were more than accommodating. We had everything packed and ready, and I think I was having a little bit of a flustered moment. And they said, "Oh well, if you've got more boxes and you want to pack any more things up, we're happy to wait."
Yeah,
and they were genuinely happy to just let me, at the 11th hour, pack more boxes. But
I think that's another thing that we haven't mentioned. Obviously, when you get in touch with them, you'll get a quote for cubic meters
yeah,
of
and that's impossible to know how many
basically
cubic
of
meters
things,
you need,
of boxes, of storage, of carriage. Okay, but you won't necessarily know exactly how much you need. They will help you estimate how much space you will need, but in reality you don't know until you've actually packed it all up and it's there. So what will happen is you'll get a quote for a specific number of cubic meters. You will then pack everything that you want them to take away. They will collect it, take it to their facility, in our case in the UK. They will then measure it up in the UK, and only at that point, once they measure it all up, they will then confirm to you how many cubic meters you actually took up, or how much stuff they've actually taken and are transporting for you. And at that point, they will send you the final invoice. So if you have booked, let's say, in our case, I think we booked 11 cubic meters.
Well, originally we booked a lot less than that. I think we booked 4 cubic meters and very quickly realised that was not going to be enough.
No.
So I emailed them, said, oh, this isn't enough, what can we do? And she said, don't worry, we'll increase it. She increased it to 11 cubic meters. And I said, well, what if it's more? And she said, don't worry, we'll send the van, the guys will, they'll get it all in. And they did, and they got it in, and I said to the guy that collected it, how much do you think is there? Because at this point I'm panicking, we've got a budget. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've just filled this van, and I wasn't anticipating that. And he said, oh, I reckon you've got about 14, 15 cubic meters there, but don't worry. Easy to say, isn't it, when you're not paying the bill?
Yeah.
And anyway, when it got back to the storage and they sent us the final bill, it was 14 cubic meters, so he guessed it quite spot on. And I wouldn't have held him to it if it was more, because that's on me. But 14 cubic meters, and I think that cost us £2,060.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite good value, really.
That's in early 2026.
Yeah.
However, what you want to take away from it is, one, we've told you how much we paid for 14 cubic meters. So
that was basically a box.
It gives you an idea. However, they are pretty good at giving quotes, so just drop them a message. I'll include the email address in the description so that you can just grab it from there. They're going to provide you with a quote. There's going to be accurate for when it is that you want things to be moved.
Yeah.
But also, I think the main takeaway from it is, if you book a specific amount of space, you don't necessarily need to stick to that. I imagine if you end up having a bit less, you'll probably end up paying a bit less. Or if you end up having a bit more, like we did, they'll just, you'll just pay a little bit more. But that, I don't think they charge you a penalty if anything like that. They're just saying, right, this is roughly what we expect from you.
Yeah.
If it's a bit more, we'll just charge you what that would be anyway.
Yeah, based on what you've told us you're taking. This is our best guess.
So don't panic if you think, right, I need to get it spot on to that quoted cubic meterage, because you don't.
No.
You can just get it at a ballpark.
Yeah.
And like I said, they are quite good at helping you estimate how much it is that you actually are going to have.
Yeah. And another thing that we did, and I think, it's not necessary, but I think the guys really appreciated it, was we put everything in one room. So when they came and they said, right, where are we collecting from? I was like, it's all in there. They said, nothing upstairs. I said, no. And the look of relief on their faces when they knew they weren't going to have to drag things from upstairs.
Yeah.
And the same when they came here. We've got, 3 steps at the front that they had to bring things up. And they said, where do you want it? And I said, put it all in there and I'll sort it later. And I think for them, and like I say, it's not necessary. I'm sure they expect to put things in different rooms, but for them, I think it was a big relief. It makes their life easier. They know what they've got to pick up. They know exactly where they've got to put stuff. You're not messing around while they're here. Yeah. Making them put things in different rooms. Yeah.
And in our case,
I think it's just polite, personally.
And in our case, we were able to put it into a room which was quite close to the front door, which meant that they didn't have to walk, whilst we were at home or you were at home, in our case, they didn't have to walk around the entire house fetching boxes and asking
dirtying up
us.
the carpets.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, do we need this, or do you want us to get this, or anything? They were basically like, if it's in this room, it's to go in your van. If it's not in this room, you don't need to do anything with it.
Yeah.
It just keeps it simple.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the reasons why it took so little time for them to actually load up the van at our house.
Yeah, it all felt so effortless.
Because, like you said, it took them less than half an hour to load up everything that we had. Like I said, the 14 cubic meters of things.
Yeah.
Which also means that you've got more out of your day, because, you know, if they arrive and half an hour later they're gone, you can just get on with your things.
Yeah.
Whereas if they've got to be walking around the house and trying to figure out what to take, what not to take, then you're going to have them there for longer, and that means that you're going to be occupied for longer, and so on. Although, in our case, again, because we made it so simple for them, everything was labelled, everything was in one place, they didn't really need to bother you at all.
No.
They just, you just came in, said, right, there you go, there's your stuff, and they moved it on, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that covers everything. If it doesn't, if you have any questions about our experience with Algarve Removals, then drop us a comment and we'll try to help you as best as we can.
But otherwise, contact them, because they're really helpful and really open. So
So overall, thumbs up. We would recommend them, and we would use them again if we needed to. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. No.
Hopefully not. Right. That's it for this video, guys. It's a quick bonus video if you're on the channel, and we'll see you on Monday for a regular schedule video.
Yay.
I can't remember what's the next one. Oh, next one, more stuff around the house. I think we're planting some strawberries. I think we went to the market.
Okay.
I think. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You may have seen that. Who knows?
All right. See you guys.